Hi there, karibu tukuze matunda. Today we are somewhere in Baringo County. Si huku ni Baringo? And to be more specific, just a few kilometers away from Eldama Ravine, for those who have toured this part of the county. And this is a farm that I'm currently helping in management. I did help them in setup of the phase 2, but this is the initial phase which I found ongoing, and as you can see, there is already some very good progress. Flowering has already set in, and because this place is relatively warmer, we're in the month of July. In the next 3 months they should be enjoying some good harvest, because trees here tend to mature very fast. By December they should have hit peak production. The trees are approximately I think 8-9 months old now, and today I want to speak about something regarding spacing. So here is a classical example of a farmer went ahead and planted his trees very closely. So that's our tree number 1, and this is our tree number 2. And as you can see, the branches here are already overlapping. You see these 2 branches here, see that branch and this other branch here, they are already touching at this point. See, you can see that tip there, and you can see this other one. There are very many schools of thought out there. There are farmers who will place their trees or rather space them in a way that they form a canopy. But like I've said in this channel, we want to be known for the best. We are here because we work hard so that we can get grade 1 fruits, and we can get the highest return on our investment. And we're also here to promote good orchard management practices. If you understand what I'm saying, then you'll agree with me that spacing of tree tomatoes should be done, and not just tree tomatoes. This applies to all fruits, right? Including the trees of the forest. There is a minimum distance from one tree to the other. It's no exception here. And maybe to just recap, I mentioned that there are 2 schools of thought. Some believes that when you form, or rather when you space your trees in a way that they, very closely, and they form what is known as canopy, the canopy helps in supporting the trees. And I would say, if you are planning to grow grade 1 fruits, and if you want to enjoy a good return on investment, then I disagree with that school of thought, because the number 1 reason as to why we adequately space our trees, 1, is to ensure that that tree enjoys God's sunlight. It's free of charge. And what we have seen is that those trees that are very, you see, like these 2 here, you can see that is tree number 1, and here is tree number 2, and they're already overlapping here. So what happens is that you will enjoy a very good harvest the first year. But I said these trees, you want to enjoy them for more than, say, I usually give them a minimum commercial life of, say, 2 to 3 years. 3 years if you stretch them and you take very good care of them. And underline commercial, or rather, you know, you can still have trees that are not producing much. So we are talking of trees giving you good harvest that makes economic sense up to year 3. That school of thought that believes in the canopy, I don't subscribe to it, and I would advise strongly any farmer against that. Because like I've said, year 1, you enjoy very good harvest. But year 2, this is where you start now facing all sorts of problems. I could just probably list a few. And the first one that comes into my mind, in my earlier video there, I talked about fruit and flower abortion. And here is a classical example. You see, in between this row, this is where you're expected to pass as you manage your orchard, whether you're harvesting fruits or whether you're spraying them. And here is where our farm guys are having a very difficult time. He's carrying a knapsack sprayer or a hand sprayer, and he has to bend here. And in the process, you end up, because this is the access, so he ends up knocking down these beautiful flowers and fruits. Besides, you're also hurting their backs. And given that this tree is barely, it's barely 10 months old in the field. By year 3, these will be big bushes. So it makes it very, very difficult to manage the space around. And the theory about canopy forming a support for the trees, I honestly don't buy that, because when this tree decides to give you if you take very good care of these trees, believe you me, and you fail to give them a support, they will definitely snap at that particular point, right? That very point whereby you're seeing this farmer, for example, has already lost his first fruits to botrytis. You can see that. See this strand here? No fruit yet harvested, yet we don't have flowers there. I have already talked that in my previous video. So the branches will snap at that weak joint if you don't support them. So there's whole business of canopy and offering support. I can tell you, if these fruits, if you take good care of these fruits, they tend to be very heavy. This branch will definitely give in at some point. The other problem that I mentioned that you expect with this whole business of really not spacing your trees properly, because of that dampness, I visited a farm in the past whereby the farmer was complaining about the fruits becoming very tiny. What you need to know is that the sun plays a very important role. If these fruits do not enjoy sunlight, believe you me, even ripening becomes a problem. Sometimes back, I remember I accompanied a buyer and we visited a farm in Nyeri. It's a friend who was selling his street tomatoes, so there was this buyer. And I remember we drove all the way from Nairobi to Nyeri. And there was this guy who the buyer told to, that he could not buy his fruits. And the reason was that the fruits were refusing to turn to color, to that very appealing red color. And this is as a result of the bush, or rather the canopy, had already formed, and it was really very difficult for the fruits underneath to enjoy sunlight. And like I've said, the very sun that plays a very important role in ensuring that the fruits ripen. That color that you see partly. Without the sun, then you'll have difficulties. And you'll notice that during very cold months, the fruits struggle to ripen. For those who are already growing these fruits, July is a good example. In that month, fruits really struggle to ripen, unlike during other months when we enjoy relatively good sunshine. So that is the other problem. So the fruits grow smaller in size, and the fruits, for example, that we turned away were yellow in color. And given the needs of the Nairobi market, where this buyer was coming from, they could not meet his customers' preference. That is in terms of color. So year 2, year 3, fruits become tiny. They fail to turn in color because of that big canopy, thick canopy for that matter. Then, like I've also said, expect more fungal diseases to set in your orchard. Fungal diseases are very common, especially when dampness. If your orchard is not enjoying good sunshine, expect fungal diseases to be part and parcel of your problems that you'll be solving once in a while. And there's this disease that I've noted. It's called anthracnose. Is it that one, right? But you find fruits with some black spots. It look like they are rotting, and that is very common in orchards that are not well spaced. So expect that to happen. Expect all sorts of fungal diseases, including botrytis, all those, name them. And like I've said, majority of tree tomato diseases are fungal related. Expect more of those diseases with that canopy. The other thing is that you also need to know this will also need to warm up, right? If you have a very big thicket, canopy, and the sun is also not penetrating, and hitting the soil, I don't know what science to explain, but I can tell you you'll also notice some bit of difference in terms of productivity. When the sun is heated, the muti or the tree inachangamka, and I don't need to expound on the importance of the warmth in the growth of this tree. That dampness of the soil and all that, of course, expect even more fungal, more soil-borne diseases, especially if the soil is not warming up and it remains damp. Don't be surprised to find even root rot setting in because of that dampness. So I can go on and on, but I want to quickly just show you the phase that I'm currently involved in. Here we are. These are our young seedlings, planted just the other day. I think they are barely a month old in the field, and you can see they stretch down there. We had intercropped this field with beans, and we've since just harvested our beans. But I also noted that the presence of beans has also increased the presence of white flies, and at times farmers are reluctant to spray their cover crop. So what we did differently here is that we gave them ample space, and as you can see, there is ample space between that tree and that other tree. So we are in the process of here just removing the apical bud, and like I've mentioned, I've already showed you how we remove them. There you go. That's the apical bud. That's what we'll be doing shortly, because they have attained the height. I've posted several videos on removal of apical bud. So that is what we are currently doing in this field. Besides, we've had a very extended dry period, and like I keep on saying in my channel, if you're into this kind of farming, first plan for water, because things are no longer the same. Climate change is here, very unpredictable weather patterns, irregular rains and stuff like that. So I hope next time when you'll be planting your trees that you're going to space them well, and because spacing is something that I can tell you, year 1 you won't have a problem, but from year 2, year 3, this is where the space that you think is being lost is compensated, because these trees, we expect them to be in this field for 4 years. So you can imagine, you don't want to plant your trees, then year 2 the orchard becomes unmanageable and you have to like give up on your trees. But again, every information you hear me sharing here is something that we've learned by doing. There will always be many schools of thought. I am only documenting what we are doing, and everything that you hear me say is based on our past experience. I remember there was a section that I had planted 4 feet by 4 feet, and one day I went to harvest some fruits. I will never forget, in 2018, and I couldn't even, after harvesting the fruits there, because it was so difficult to access that field. I remember driving back from my home in Nyandarua to Nairobi was such a hard, job, because my back was aching. And that's when it just dawned on me, oh, this small section where I had done for 4 feet by 4 feet was the one that was causing me problems. So all I'm sharing is based on our past experience, and I hope this will help you make the right decision. So asanteni, thank you so much for your feedback, for all the support that I've received this far. I've received some very positive feedback, people encouraging me to keep on sharing this, and I promise I'll keep on sharing my journey, and I hope we can provide alternative facts to what is provided out there. So thank you so much. Remember to subscribe, remember to share this video, and leave us a comment. Asante.